Have you ever found yourself or heard someone else wishing for world peace? It seems like a lofty goal. With almost 8 billion people in the world today, it may even seem impossible. There is always a war or a conflict happening somewhere in the world. All we have to do is turn on the news to find them. However, did you know the Roman Empire had about 200 years of relative peace while it ruled in the Mediterranean Sea? This period is called the Pax Romana. The Pax Romana was one of the most critical developments in the Roman Empire. It only lasted from 27 BCE to 180 CE, but it solidified much of Roman power and gave rise to cultural and artistic developments that continue to shape how people think of the Roman Empire today. During this time, people acquired great wealth as the Roman borders consistently expanded, reaching into Britain, Africa, and Eastern Europe. It also was a time of significant political changes. Rome transitioned from a republic to an empire at the beginning of the Pax Romana. There was a general peace throughout the empire, and people felt safe enough to focus on the arts, experimenting with literature, architecture, and other forms. This period was Rome's golden age, and we can only properly appreciate it if we look back at the violence and uncertainty that launched the Pax Romana, and the events leading to its end. How did the Pax Romana start? The Pax Romana came on the heels of the Roman Republic, which had been deteriorating for years beforehand. It had started well. Lucius Junius Brutus overthrew the last Roman king in 509 BCE, giving more powers to the Senate. The Senate selected 2 consuls each year to lead, but during times of unrest or in an emergency, the Senate appointed one man, called a dictator, to rule until the crisis was over. Dictators held absolute power, but it was only for a short time. So the term didn't mean the same thing to the Romans that it means today. However, people wanted power and slowly corrupted the Roman Republic. In 60 BCE, 3 strong leaders decided to create the first triumvirate and rule Rome together. Gaius Pompeius Magnus, better known as Pompey, was an excellent general interested in world conquest. Marcus Licinius Crassus was also a general, but better remembered for his great wealth. Finally, Gaius Julius Caesar came from nobility, commanded an army, and was the youngest of the 3. These 3 men held each other in balance until 53 CE, when Crassus died in battle. Tensions between Caesar and Pompey quickly escalated after that. Civil war erupted as the 2 men fought for dominance after Caesar famously crossed the Rubicon River in 49 BCE. His men were devoted to him, and he was eventually victorious. Even though the Roman Republic was falling apart, the Romans were not ready to accept another king. When Julius Caesar refused to work with the Senate, people began worrying he was trying to re-establish a monarchy, eventually leading to his assassination on the Ides of March in 44 BCE. Caesar's assassination did not fix the Roman Republic. It merely left a vacuum for 3 other men to attempt the second triumvirate. It was a partnership between Mark Antony, Marcus Aemilius Lepidus, and Gaius Octavius, Julius Caesar's grandnephew and adopted son. Tensions sprang up almost immediately, and Lepidus, the weakest member of the triumvirate, stepped out of politics, leaving Octavian and Antony to battle for control of the Roman Republic. Antony was Queen Cleopatra's lover. By this point, he favored Egyptian culture over Roman culture, eventually turning the Roman people against him as the civil war raged. It came to a head at the Battle of Actium on September 2, 31 BCE, a naval battle in the Ionian Sea. Although Antony was a skilled general, too many factors worked against him, forcing him to retreat to Alexandria. He and Cleopatra made their final stand in Alexandria in 30 BCE. When Octavian took the city, they both committed suicide. Much like his granduncle, Octavian became the Roman Republic's sole ruler. Octavian's civil war left Rome in chaos, giving him the flexibility to change the government. Although he initially returned to Rome as a consul, he quickly began collecting titles, the most important being Augustus. Augustus means the illustrious one, and he took the title as his name. Most people know Octavian as Augustus Caesar. Historians believe this title, given in 27 BCE, marked the Roman Republic's end and the Pax Romana's beginning. Of course, giving Augustus a prestigious title did not launch a long period of peace on its own. He ruled the Roman Empire for about 45 years, making him one of the longest ruling Roman emperors. But Augustus maintained his power by leaving much of it unofficial. The people were still leery of kings and attached to the Senate. They had been a republic for about 500 years and weren't interested in changing. Thus, Augustus couldn't overthrow the Senate and name himself king. He was even unwilling to call himself a dictator, which a couple of his predecessors had done, such as Julius Caesar. Instead, Augustus took no meaningful title other than maintaining he was the first man of the Roman Republic. His titles were mostly ceremonial, but Augustus held power behind the scenes. He allowed other politicians to compete for titles like censor and tribune while still controlling Rome himself. Augustus's actions did not go unnoticed, but the people weren't concerned about an untitled king as long as he encouraged Roman traditions and didn't change the government too much. He also maintained peace during this reign. After years of civil wars, the Roman people were willing to accept a powerful ruler in exchange for that. However, this peace did not mean there were no battles during Augustus's rule. Even though the Roman Republic was already a decent size, Augustus was concerned about outside threats. Some of these threats came from Central Europe, the Iberian Peninsula, and the Balkans. So, Augustus conquered as much area as possible, boasting about bringing peace to Rome while also winning battles. Augustus set the model for the emperors who came after him. Very few declared themselves kings, and many used military expansions to win power and success. No future emperors ever conquered as much land as Augustus did, but it did not stop them from trying, eventually making Rome one of the largest empires in the world. Despite the significant expansion and boasting of his military achievements, Augustus was more interested in solidifying power and maintaining the army's loyalty. His legions helped him take control of Rome. Augustus made sure to take care of his soldiers in return. He reduced the number of legions to 28. Instead of leaving the veterans without a job or purpose, he gave them land in several colonies for farming. Land was one of the most valuable resources in the Roman Empire, so the soldiers were instantly supportive of the new emperor. He also started a retirement fund for veteran soldiers and established the Praetorian Guard, an elite group designed to protect the emperors. The Praetorian Guard didn't always do this, but they quickly became a critical part of the Roman Empire's politics. Augustus died in 14 CE. He started his reign with the Roman Republic in shreds after years of civil war, but he left the Roman Republic a more stable and peaceful place. While many emperors who came after Augustus had their share of scandals and controversies, Rome officially entered the Pax Romana, giving them almost 200 years of wide-scale peace. How did the Pax Romana end? Sadly, the Pax Romana could not last forever. The Roman Empire continued to grow, and each expansion threatened its political stability. Constant growth taxed the army and the government as they tried to protect and control an ever-increasing empire. The last rulers of the Pax Romana were the 5 good emperors. Emperor Domitian's death left the Roman Empire in chaos, so the Senate finally stepped in and asked Marcus Cocceius Nerva to become emperor. He was nearly 66, so the Senate's choice may seem odd. However, Nerva was so well connected, he immediately settled the Roman Empire, re-establishing peace. He adopted Trajan before his death, who became the second of the 5 good emperors. Trajan was a military man, and historians remember him as one of Rome's best emperors. He is remembered for his territorial expansions, establishing Rome's most extensive boundaries. The empire controlled land on 3 continents, governed about 50 million people, and oversaw about 2 million square miles. He spent much of his reign with the army, eventually dying from illness in 117 CE, and leaving his adopted son Hadrian as the next emperor. Hadrian was not interested in continuing to expand the Roman Empire. In fact, he thought it was too big already. So he began cutting back, setting up strong borders in some areas while letting other lands go to other kingdoms and tribes, like the Parthians. He also traveled the empire to see what needed to be done, ordering people to build walls, forts, and temples. Hadrian had no biological children, so he adopted Antonius Pius, a successful politician with integrity. He is remembered for being kind and fair, even improving the lives of captives and enslaved people, and his reign was free from war, although there were a few minor rebellions in various provinces that the governors put down. He adopted 2 men as his heirs, and the last emperor during the Pax Romana was Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who ruled alongside Lucius Verus for a time. They took the throne in 161 CE, But Marcus Aurelius, known as the philosopher emperor, was better accepted by the Senate and the Roman people. He was more restrained and educated than Verus, who was more interested in action. But historians don't think the Romans disliked Verus. Marcus Aurelius was just the favorite. Roman politics were peaceful during Marcus Aurelius's reign, but there were plenty of issues outside of Rome to keep the emperors busy. Both emperors had to march to war when Parthia restarted its war with Rome in 161 CE. Verus marched east to put down the revolt. Marcus Aurelius marched north to handle the Germanic tribes, who started invasions and raids along the Danube River. He soon found himself fighting not only Germanic tribes, but also a pandemic that eventually took about a tenth of the Roman Empire. This illness even killed Lucius Verus in 169 CE. Historians believe it was smallpox or measles. Marcus Aurelius ruled for 19 years and spent most of that time on the battlefield, even though he is best remembered today for his philosophical writings and meditations. He was also an excellent administrator, upholding and adjusting the laws to support as many people as possible. Sadly, even though his rule was peaceful for the Roman Empire, his extended time on the battlefield points to the end of the Pax Romana. The empire was too large to fully protect from outside forces, and there were not enough people to support the army. However, Marcus Aurelius's biggest mistake was selecting his biological son as his heir. Emperors have been choosing competent men and adopting them as heirs, which had helped maintain peace for so long. Marcus Aurelius's son, Commodus, soon sent the Roman Empire into chaos, finally ending the Pax Romana. While the end of the Pax Romana did not immediately doom the Roman Empire, the empire would never have the long-standing peace again. The Pax Romana saw Rome at its best. People were stable, safe, and had plenty of entertainment. The Western Roman Empire slowly declined over about 300 years afterward, leaving behind an ideal model of society people have been striving to replicate ever since. How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about the Pax Romana, check out our book, Pax Romana, a captivating guide to ancient Rome during the Roman peace period. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. If you found the video captivating, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.